Well, I want to tell you guys my Bigfoot story. Now, I have never told anyone this story ever. I think two people in my life, Jacob, my grandson, and my wife, are the only two that know this story, and the only reason they know it is because they were there when it happened. So, 12 to 14 years ago, I can't narrow it down any closer than that. I used to work for a tow company in the area here, the town I live in, and I worked at this company a total of 27 and a half years, so I was there a long time. We would go out and do stolen vehicles or customer stolen vehicles that were taken out in the woods and then drove off a cliff. Now this car that we went to get that day was probably 20-25 miles towards the coast and the coast mountain range. So me and one other guy were assigned the job. I was lead man. We went up there probably around noon. We started to run our cable down over the bank, 200-300 feet. This thing was zigzagged down between trees as it went down into a canyon. So it takes quite a while to get all your cable out, chains down, all the way to the bottom. You run snatch blocks from a tree to pull the vehicle sideways as you're coming up. So you're unhooking and rehooking, unhooking and rehooking. You do that all day long. 6, 8 hours, 10 hours. That day I think we were up there probably between 6 and 8 hours. It was summertime, so we had a lot of daylight. It was a beautiful 70-some degree day. It wasn't hot. We were in the woods, thick woods, a lot of brush. And as we pulled this thing out, got to the top, we were a couple hours before dark. We get back to base, we're putting all our chains and cables and snatch blocks away, all the equipment on the truck. We realized that we left a chain behind. And these chains were not little chains. These were big, expensive chains. So my partner, Josh, at the time said, hey, why don't you go back and get it tonight? Because he goes, I don't have time. I said, I can go back and get it, not a problem. So after work, I went home, grabbed my wife, grabbed my grandson Jacob, and we ran up to the site where I had left that chain. Now it's getting towards dark. It's twilight. And when you get in the woods, it's darker than twilight. So as I I left my wife and grandson in the vehicle. There was a very short road to kind of weave back into the area where I was at. Not very far, 200-300 feet maybe, off the main dirt road up there. Because these are logging roads, or fire roads they call them up here in our woods, because there's so many trees and miles and miles and miles of trees in these mountains out here at the coast range. So as I'm walking down in there, it was getting dark enough I really couldn't see good enough to find the chain on the ground. I knew the vicinity where the truck was parked, the chain got tossed on the ground, but there's enough vegetation and brush, grass, that the chain kind of disappeared. So at the time, instead of having one of these fancy dang new phones, I had a flip phone. You guys remember those. So I had my flip phone, whipped it out, turned my flashlight on, and I'm looking around and kicking and walking, and I found my chain. So I picked it up. I put the thing into one big loop. I picked it up and I hung it up around my neck. And just as I did that, I heard something. And I don't know what it was, but I just froze. And as I'm listening, it was rocks. Something was throwing huge rocks through the brush. And I can hear the rocks going through, snapping limbs through the brush. And then as they went through the brush, these rocks went over a canyon, down into a canyon, and they were clackety, clackety, clacky, hitting rocks as they were going. And I'm thinking to myself, I go, oh my God, we're having an earthquake. I'm in the woods and we're having an earthquake. And so another rock, and then pretty soon another rock. But they were coming from, when I was younger, in my 50s, my hearing was a little better than it is now, but I could tell that these rocks were not coming from the same place. These were in an area they were coming from, like 2 or 3 things were throwing rocks. because I just kept hearing them and hearing them. I don't know, 6, 8, 10 maybe. I wasn't counting, honestly. But I just froze, and at that time the hair just kind of rose up on the back of my neck, and I'm thinking to myself, what in the hell is throwing rocks? I thought, we're not having an earthquake because the ground's not moving. I've been in the woods enough my lifetime that I know most animal sounds, grunt, groans, growls, all that. All of a sudden I started hearing this horrific noise. And it sounded like it was something screaming at me, yelling at me. I don't know how to describe it even, because it's a noise I never heard, ever. And I've never heard it since, by the way. So to myself, I'm thinking, is this Bigfoot? I never heard Bigfoot, never seen a Bigfoot. I didn't see these guys, if that's what it was. I'd never seen anything. It was too dark. And even my little puny flashlight, I couldn't have done anything to see anything. So, with that being said, I made a turn and I started to leave. And as I'm leaving, these things are still squealing, this, you know, whatever the noise they're making. They're just letting me have it as I'm going out. To me, it sounded like they're telling me to get out of our area. We don't want you here. I felt that way. It's like you're not wanted here. So I went back to the vehicle and I told my wife and grandson the story, what happened. And they're like, wow, well, could be anything, I guess. I said, yep, I guess so. So I just put it off, didn't tell anybody, forgot about it. And a couple of years ago, I decided to take my new Jeep Wrangler up into the woods and just, I want to go find that place, wherever that happened. At that time, they were logging up in that area, general area, and there was a landing, what they call a landing, where it was a big dirt berm was built up to where they could move equipment up onto the berm of this dirt and roll off onto a deck of a big truck. And I thought, well, if I could just find that, I'm golden. I don't know exactly where that happened, but I'd be damned. All these years gone by, it's gone. And, of course, the forest has reforested itself. I have no idea exactly where that's at. But I thought, again, someday I'd like to take a drive up there and just see if I can't squirrel around up in that area, because there's only like one main road with a spur road off. And I went all the way to the main road. It's gated and closed off, so I can't go any further. The spur road goes off. It's a narrower road, but it does actually follow this canyon, and there's a pretty deep canyon. I'd say 200-300 foot deep. And it's like 2 feet off the edge of the road. So I mean, if you drove your vehicle 2 foot off that road, you're going straight down to the bottom of that canyon. It is very steep. This isn't some place to go up and play around. You could get lost or killed very, very easily up there. But curiosity, you know what I mean? All these years gone by, I think about it all the time. Every once in a while you kind of have flashbacks to, you know, that happening and exactly what happened. Can't explain it. But if I was guessing, not knowing, to me, it was Bigfoot. I don't know what else it could be. It wasn't a bear. It growled too long and made this screeching, you know, horrific noise for too long. But anyway, that is my Bigfoot story. That's it. I mean, now everybody knows. I figure before I die, which whenever that day's coming, I better tell my story or nobody's ever going to know. So that's, for your information, folks, now you know my one and only Bigfoot story. I hope you enjoyed it. You know, if I ever saw one, I think I'd run like hell, honestly. Because now that I've heard that, I kind of believe maybe they are out there. So, but if you got one, leave a comment for me. Tell me your Bigfoot story, would you? I'd like to hear it. So, I'm going to say adios. See you on the next one. If I'm here, I'll see you on the next one. And you guys live your life carefully too, would you? Just in case you see a Bigfoot. No joke. Bye now.